Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Red, White, and Ruthless, where excuses don't exist, execution matters, and the Bills don't just play football, they impose it. We have a Monday night matchup that's going to be taking place in a couple of days between the Buffalo Bills and Atlanta Falcons. The Buffalo Bills are 4-1 in a powerhouse that's trying to bounce back after a gut-wrenching loss to the New England Patriots. And they're going up against a team that's built around one of the best running backs in the league. And this is not going to be an easy task. So the Buffalo Bills, we're going to talk about Josh Allen going up against Bijan Robinson, Sean McDermott going up against Raheem Morris. And we'll also talk about this game being under the dome lights in front of a bright stage and with one message in mind: to respond to what happened last week. So, Sean, the Buffalo Bills walk into Atlanta sitting at 4-1. But if you watched last week, it was pretty ugly. The 23-20 loss against the New England Patriots, some missed chances, some red zone failures, some turnovers that killed momentum. That's not who the team that we think that we are really is. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was definitely a bad week. Interesting enough, we haven't won the last 3 week 5 matchups, and 2 of them were the score of 23-20. So 2023, we lost to the Jags in London, lost Milano, lost Daquan Jones. It was 25-22. Then we lost to the Texans 23-20, and now we lost to the Patriots 23-20. So I was saying, hopefully next year we have a week 5 bye instead of a week 6 one or week 7, because we seem to not be able to play good week 5. But Alan mentioned it too. We've seemed kind of sloppy in winning football, even though it hasn't been our best, and it caught up to us. And considering turning the ball over 3 times, I'll give it a wash and say 2, because we forced a fumble the next play. So we'll say we turned the ball over twice to nothing, and too many flags. It kept setting us back when we were getting momentum. So continuously shooting yourself in the foot, the other team doesn't do that, you can't really win many football games. So but it sucks to have to lose, but at least it was early, and we got a lot of time to correct it.
Yeah, it's better now rather than late in the season when you're going up against Kansas City in the playoffs, or against, a team like Baltimore, or even, Indianapolis, some of those juggernaut teams that are really good in the playoffs. You going up against and losing to them, that would really hurt the Buffalo Bills. But like you said, uncharacteristic football from the team, too many penalties, too many turnovers, and then, just mistakes all the way around. It just was not pretty. But, Sean, let's get into this matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Atlanta Falcons. And this week, the focus is going to be on clean football from me, protecting the rock, sustaining drives, and finishing possessions. Joe Brady is going to come out aggressive, in my opinion. I think that the tempo of this game is going to be more of an up-tempo approach. You're going to see early down passing, spreading the ball in different formations to the open receivers up the middle of the field. You have Dalton Kincaid. Then you also have a balanced attack behind Josh Allen, where you can utilize James Cook and Ray Davis, the second-year running back who hasn't really gotten off to a good start. Did you know that the running backs have an average of 3.2 yards per carry this season? Then you got Keon Coleman on the other side of the ball that has to mature a little bit more. That's kind of what the approach has been this week. And, Sean, this cheat code that Josh Allen has right here, going with this balanced offensive attack, we haven't really seen them flash all that often this season. Not only the offense, but in all 3 phases of the football. But I want to start with the offensive side of the ball, because, we've talked about the offensive line quite a bit on the show, and we'll get into that right after I get into this part. But what does Josh Allen and the offense need to do to be better and take the next step to beating the Atlanta Falcons?
I really think part of it is, especially last game, we were predictable. When I was doing the trench film study, I could tell on like a lot of the plays that we ran the ball, they had 8 or 9 men in the box. The linebackers were playing 2 yards off the ball instead of 5. And as soon as we hiked the ball, whether it was Josh under center or not, they were already just crashing down, hitting the gaps. So it wasn't that we couldn't run the ball. It's just they knew when we were going to do it, and we didn't care. So that's a little bit on Brady, or a little bit on Josh for, not changing the play when he saw 8 or 9 men in the box. On Brady for being, like I said, arrogant and, our plays are going to work anyway because we're so much better. Sometimes it doesn't matter because I thought in this game the receivers and tight ends didn't do a good job blocking, where the line would have a hat to a hat, and then Dawson Knox would get blown up, and Cook would get tackled for no gain, or Shakir would get blown up, and then he would get tackled for no gain. So yeah, the offensive line does matter, but it is a collective effort to run the ball in this offense anyway. And when they know you're going to do it, that's what happens. So even before this game, Cook had 3 games of 100 yards in a row. He averages over 5 yards a carry, and we hardly run play action. When we did run play action against the Patriots, we absolutely destroyed them. So especially when they're starting to cheat like that, run play action and dump it off in the middle of the field. It doesn't have to be 50 yards downfield. It could be 15, 10, 12. So in this kind of game, we have the talent, we have the blocking, we have decent enough receivers to catch the football. We have the best quarterback. So just be yourself, but the play calling needs to be less predictable. Because when you're predictable, it puts you in a bind because now they run every first down, or 99% of the first downs they run. So they tackle you for 2nd and 10. Now you're in a passing situation, so they know you're gonna pass. And then you get a holding call. Now you're 2nd and 17, and now you're definitely passing the football. And then it just makes it completely harder to run how you want to run the offense how you want to. So be less predictable and don't shoot yourself in the foot with holdings and false starts and undisciplined penalties like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying there, Sean. I want to get into the comments real quick on YouTube and on Facebook. We appreciate each of you for watching. We have Bills fan CA coming into the chat early saying, can't wait to watch this show this week. Also saying that the cornerback depth is not good and we aren't making the right moves. We will get into that later in the show, as well as Trek Reviewer coming in with his cut cam talk. Bills fan CA saying we need to change something. Also saying, oh, great, the Bills defense has to try and stop a good running back. Sheesh. The week 5 jinx, Sean, I didn't realize that there was a week 5 jinx for the Buffalo Bills. Also, Bills fan CA coming into the chat saying, feels like the blueprint is out, force the Bills to beat you with the run game. The defense doesn't respect our pass game. Also, John Roberts saying that Joshua Palmer has been getting separation but not getting the ball. Vegas is currently having a 4.5-point favorites for the Buffalo Bills. Bills haven't covered in weeks now. Also, John Roberts saying that Curtis Samuel did not practice. It looks like it's going to be Elijah Moore that will be active this week. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Also saying as well, the last thing is Dalton Kincaid was wearing a non-contact jersey this week, probably because of that hand injury that he does have. But Sean, let's get into the defensive side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills. And let's talk about what the Bills are going to have to do. The bad news is likely not having Matt Milano out there again. That with that pectoral injury that just keeps lasting longer and longer. That's something that really does suck. He's the heart and soul of the defense, man. And even though he's not the direct communicator, he's the tone setter of the defense, the problem solver. And losing him hurts, especially when you're going up against Bijan Robinson on the schedule. And what I'm thinking about is the weak side of the Bills' defensive the linebacker group, and they're going to have Shaq Thompson as well as Dorian Williams mixing in. They're both athletic, they're both rangy type of linebackers, but neither is what Milano does, and they don't have the instincts. So that means that Bobby Babbage and Sean McDermott are going to have to be creative in this matchup. What do you think you're going to see in those nickel packages with the Buffalo Bills and the rotation that you're going to see? Do you think that they're going to be able to stop Bijan Robinson in this game?
It's hard to say. I don't think it matters whether we're in nickel or 4-3. I think Bijan can have a good game against anybody. It's hard to tell. They've only had 4 games. They got shut out 1 game, but he's dynamic in the run and the pass. I know I think he had 1 game this year where he had 100 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving in the same game. But the Falcons have been hard to figure out because they only average 19 points a game. They're not really flashing like people thought they would with all the talent they got. That just means to tell me that it's going to happen against us probably or sooner than later. But yeah, if the guy like him gets hot, that's dangerous. It's dangerous for the rest of the game. But I think we'll do a lot of 4-3. We'll do some nickel, or maybe even, I guess it depends. So if we're stopping them and they start throwing the football, we'll probably switch to nickel. But they'll do a little bit of both. They have to at this point. But with Ed Oliver coming back, he said he's ready to play. I think that'll help a ton, especially because their best lineman is the right guard, Lindstrom. So
Yeah.
him against Oliver will be good. And then, they got a couple good guys over there. But, yeah, I think it'll be a good test for the defense. They actually did really good last week, only giving up 6.5 points. If we didn't play sloppy on offense, we probably would have been up by like 3 scores in the first half, and then we would have blew them out in the second half, and then the game wouldn't have been what it was.
Right.
I knew that as soon as it was 6-3 at the half. I said, the defense isn't going to hold up for the second half, so it's probably over unless we score every time, and that's what happened. We saw a lot of promise in them. I mean, really, the only people that were bad in that game were Trey White, and Benford got beat a few times, but Stephon Diggs was the only offensive weapon that really did anything. They couldn't run the ball. No other receiver did anything. It was just Diggs torching Trey White and getting open. And Stevenson had 2 running touchdowns, but there were like 3 or 4 yards, and he was wide open. But other than that, I thought the defense did really good, and it'll be another good test against weaponry like Atlanta has. But I think, like I said, I think we'll do 4-3 most of the time. I actually like Shaq Thompson a lot. I know he's old, but he still hits like he's young. He's quick, surprisingly, considering his age. And I just think he's that vet presence that knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So him and Bernard. I mean, Bernard's having a down year. Benford's having a down year, which really sucks because I remember in the offseason, I didn't want to pay them before the end of this year. Not because I didn't think they were good, but they both had injury problems for years. And I wanted to pay Cook first. Pay Cook, pay Rousseau, pay Shakir. And I didn't really want to pay Rousseau, but I was like, pay those 3 first. And then if they could stay healthy this year, pay Benford and Bernard. And now you pay Benford. He's been trash. You pay Bernard. Not that good this year. I know the talent's still there, but they're having a rough time. So hopefully Shaq Thompson and Oliver coming back could boost the defense a bit.
Yeah, and the question is, because I don't want to get into a lot of that right now, especially early on in the show, but, something that you have to think about is it Bobby Babbage that's the issue in that department as far as the drop-off, or is it the positional coaches in Jamil Ade and I think it's Bobby April that calls the linebackers? So is it a positional group that's the problem there, or is it Bobby Babbage as a whole that's causing it, or even Sean McDermott that has a taste in what goes on the defense? So you have to think about that. But the thing I was going to bring up is that this defense, not only do they have to stop Bijan Robinson, but there's a lot of other weapons on this offense of the Atlanta Falcons. You have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, as well as Darnell Mooney in the passing game that you're going to have to go up against. And then you have the legs of Michael Penix Jr. as well. So this isn't going to be an easy task for the front 4 of Joey Bosa, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, and Daquan Jones. These men are going to have to wreak havoc on the line, and they're going to have to get pressure not only on Michael Penix Jr., but they're also going to have to collapse the pocket and make it tough for Bijan Robinson to get going. So that's not going to be very easy, especially going up against the second-year quarterback that has a quick release. He tends to drift under pressure, but you might be able to get a couple of sacks with Joey Bosa and Greg Rousseau in this game if they are able to collapse the pocket, Sean.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Penix likes to hang in there and throw the ball. He's athletic, but doesn't really like to run all that much. He did in the week 1 game, but like I said, he'd rather stay in the pocket and try to throw the ball downfield. He's been a little on and off this year too, but again, he's played 5 games, 6 games in his career. So McDermott should be able to do good against a guy who's technically in his rookie year still.
Right.
I always say that because it seems to be true against young or rookie quarterbacks. Now Drake May made some really good off off script plays that he probably wouldn't make if he did it today. At least not all of them. I mean, he might make one or two of them, but I
go
don't
back
think.
to that play. If you go back to that play last week where Drake May was going to the ground pretty much, and he should have been sacked on that play, and he throws it to Stephon Diggs. I mean, that's just a miraculous play. Nobody would have seen it coming.
Yeah, and part of that, like if you had someone better covering Diggs, maybe he wouldn't have saw him be open, and then either would have took the sack or threw it out of bounds or something better than a crazy play like that. But yeah, I expect Sean McDermott to have something planned up for a young quarterback like Penix. They haven't really played great defenses yet, and we're not that great either. But I think McDermott knows what he's doing against young quarterbacks, and I think again, I don't know if Ed Oliver is going to have a huge workload coming back after missing 4 weeks, five. He missed 4 games. This will be his 5th week that he hasn't done anything, but he's coming back. So I'm sure they'll kind of ease him into it. Well, I think this D-line's been really good. They're getting a lot of pressure. They're not getting home as much as you'd like them to, but I just think continue to get the pressure. Hopefully the secondary can step up their game. And if the secondary steps up their game, maybe these pressures will turn into sacks. And by the quarterbacks not being able to dance around and throw the ball later on when maybe if someone's been guarding the wide receivers and tight ends good, we can get sacks and get some more better field position for the offense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think for me, the entire offense of the Atlanta Falcons revolves around Bijan Robinson, and rightfully so. He's the man that's currently the walking highlight reel for them. But he's 3rd in the league in scrimmage yards. He's first to force missed tackles. He's arguably the most dynamic player in the NFL, and he's doing this at the running back position where he could be considered an MVP candidate, which is crazy to think about. Atlanta's 2-3 on the season. They're really good, especially when Bijan Robinson touches the ball 20-plus times in the game. And that's what scares me about this game is going up against Buffalo. Their defense has issues with missing tackles and stuff like that. So you have to be better, especially about getting Bijan out of the game. Then when you do that, you have Michael Penix Jr., who, like we mentioned, who is in year 2, who has shown some flashes. He's got some real good zip on the ball, great accuracy and rhythm, but he still forces throws under pressure. You can really find some issues when he's throwing the ball and trying to work the middle of the field. That's where I think that the Bills can really find an area to attack this offense of the Atlanta Falcons. So, Sean, we have to keep an eye at the trenches, and this Falcons offensive line is legit. You have Lindstrom out there. I believe Jake Matthews is still on the team.
Pretty sure.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Drew Dalman as well. That's another good offensive line that have to keep Penix Jr. upright throughout this game. They're not going to have an easy task going up against the defensive line of the Buffalo Bills. Joey Bosa currently is 3rd in the NFL in pressure rate. Do you know who's 5th in the NFL, Sean? Any guesses? It's a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's a Buffalo Bill. Was it Rousseau?
It's not Rousseau.
Epinesa.
Epinesa is number 5 in the NFL in terms of pressure.
He's been really good the last few weeks.
Joey Bosa at 19% of the time, and he's just behind guys like Myles Garrett. I think TJ Watt's ahead of him. Then you have, I forget who's 4, but 5th is Epinesa at 15.8% of the time, which is an incredible stat. So that leads me into the 4th segment that we're going to talk about, Sean, which is going to be the key matchups. And let's start with the offense again. We'll go back to them because we're going to kind of go back and forth all day today. I want to start with the offense, and let's start with somebody that has been kind of challenged this week a little bit. Keon Coleman, okay? Comes into practice a couple of times late, gets benched the first series of the game for the Buffalo Bills, then gets called out not only by his head coach, but by his general manager for being late and having to show more maturity out there on the field. This game could be a potential statement game for Keon Coleman, and he's going up against A.J. Terrell, one of the really good young cornerbacks in the NFL. this is going to be a tough matchup, but I think that Coleman's physicality, especially on fade routes and slants, and a few deep 50-50 balls, this could turn it into a very good game from Keon Coleman, and it could be a statement in his young career. What do you think about this matchup for him?
Yeah, he fumbled last week too, so he definitely needs, and that put up 3. I mean, the defense held. They got the ball back at like the 12, and they only put up 3 points. So defense held strong there, but that turned out to be the difference in the game, was that 3 points. So definitely needs a bounce back. I would hope that I know AJ Terrell's actually a very underrated corner. Not many people talk about him as one of the best, but he certainly is. He's been hurt, so he's coming back for the first time. I think since week 1 or maybe even week 2. So he might not be his normal self. So maybe we could take advantage of that. But I know there's another. I think it's their other corner. I think he's like 5'10", Mike Hughes or something. He's pretty short. So if I'm Brady, I'd like to try to get matchups with Keon and him, and then just throw the ball up to Keon and see what happens. Or run some slants with Keon on him, or even AJ. Slant routes, those are often times where you can get beat easily. So get Keon in plays like that and see what happens. But honestly, I think this is a game. I think maybe Trey posted it in the Discord, but Atlanta has like the best defense regarding tight end, defending tight end. So, and especially with Kincaid, it looked like he broke his pinky. He might not have, because he wasn't on the injury report for his pinky. It was like ribs or something weird. But in the game, like after he made that catch, he was like, he sat down, he like looked at his finger, and it looked like his pinky was like jutting out that way, and then now it's taped up in practice. So maybe he broke his pinky, or something weird happened with it. So it might be hard for him to catch the football, especially when Josh is going to throw rockets at him. But I'm looking for like maybe Khalil Shakir have a big game, James Cook out of the backfield, passing the ball out of the backfield. I mean, not just running the football, but catching some screens or some dump off passes, and maybe even, I know Curtis Samuel's not going to play, but finally getting Josh Palmer involved. Like John said, he does get open. There was a couple plays in the last game that I was doing when I was doing the O-line film, and I looked at this plays where Allen scrambled, and I was like, so what were the people running? Like, what routes were people running when he had to end up scrambling? And there was a lot of times it was when there was a lot of deep routes. There wasn't many things underneath, so he was waiting, and then there was like a split second. These guys were open, and he like hesitated to throw, and all of a sudden the DBs closed in, and then he was like, "Oh, now I can't go there. Let me look around," and then he ended up just scrambling. But I feel like last game maybe he was, because we already turned the ball over so much with Keon, and I know it was counted to Josh, but Knox fumbled the football. It was a basic handoff, and he dropped it. The quarterback gets responsibility for it, unfortunately. But I think maybe he was timid to test it last week because we already turned the ball over. Because there was times where it's like, oh, if you just threw it right there, Palmer's open. But he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So I think this week would be a little bit different. But yeah, it's going to be. They have really good safeties too, and I know they haven't played many outstanding offenses, but their secondary only gives up 135 passing yards a game. So I know it's Marcus Mariota and Bryce Young. They didn't play Baker Mayfield, but they haven't played many great offenses. But still, they got guys that can play. So we still got to be very careful with the football. But guys like Shakir and Palmer and Elijah Moore, James Cook have to have big days on offense.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Sean. I mean, all the guys that you're mentioning have to have a big day. For the defense for the Buffalo Bills, though, they're going to have to go up against one of the biggest tasks at the tight end position. We haven't even talked about the passing game that Michael Penix Jr. has. But Kyle Pitts is really showing up. This is, I believe, year 4 or year 5 for him in the NFL, and he's starting to become a security blanket for Michael Penix Jr. He's my second key matchup that we have to watch out for. Now, without Matt Milano out there on the field, you have Dorian Williams, Shaq Thompson that are going to have to look out for Bijan Robinson, but they're also going to have to play a big role in stopping Kyle Pitts. Do you think, because this is kind of where I'm kind of drawn, Sean, is I think that the linebackers are going to have to stop the run. But I think that you're going to have to use Cole Bishop going up against Kyle Pitts in this matchup. Do you think that that's going to be the play for the Buffalo Bills, or do you think that they're going to rely on Dorian Williams or Shaq Thompson going up against Kyle Pitts?
It's a tough one because he's such a, as far as physicality, like height, weight, speed, he's a mismatch for basically everybody. I think maybe they'll put Bishop on him sometimes. I think, like you said, they'll alternate between Williams and Thompson. Thompson's obviously not that fast. Williams is fast, but I know people don't like his coverage too much. But he's the best athlete we got there. Yeah. So I think it'll be a mix. But I think they might even, like I said, they might put Bishop on him sometimes. I mean, they had Bishop on Diggs. So, I mean, everybody but Benford was covering Diggs at one point, which shouldn't be happening once you pay somebody that much money. So I think they'll switch it up a bit. I think they'll try to take away him as his first read. But I'll tell you, if I know the Falcons, they had extra time to prepare because they had the bye week last week. They watched that Patriots game. And yeah, Drake London isn't Stephon Diggs. He might be even at this point better in his career. But they're going to try to get Drake London on Trey White every time. And they're going to pepper him with targets. Just like I said, they're going to put Diggs with a lot of targets last week. He got even more than I thought he would. And I think they're going to do the same thing with Drake London. So Kyle Pitts might not even be involved at all because it might just be like, 15 targets for Drake London. We're gonna throw 10 targets to Bijan out of the backfield. He's gonna run the ball a lot. So Kyle Pitts might not, as good as he is, might not even be a factor because he's just, Trey White's just gonna be getting cooked, and Benford's not gonna be traveling, and they're not gonna obviously. Benford is the best corner on the team, so the offensive coordinator in Atlanta's not gonna be like, yeah, I want to try to get Drake London on him every time. You know what I mean? They're gonna just try to maneuver him to get in favorable matchups. So that's what I'm really worried for is Trey White and Drake London.
Yeah, I mean, that would be tough, but I think the Buffalo Bills, I mean, obviously, after what happened going up against Stephon Diggs, I think they're a little bit smarter than we're giving them credit for. I think that they're going to figure this out, and I think that they're going to put Christian Benford on Drake London throughout most of the day. I could see Tre'Davious White going up against Darnell Mooney in this matchup, but I do like what John Roberts saying here, where he says that Cole Bishop gets better as he gets more reps. I absolutely agree with that. I think he's going to come out of the gates. I think he's gone up against Dalton Kincaid for years at Utah, and I think that he's going to step up. He's going to show you what exactly he brings to the Buffalo Bills in coverage ability, going up against a really good athletic tight end in Kyle Pitts. That's going to be a very tough matchup for him, but I think he's going to show up and he's going to have a big day. And this defense is going to play legit. This Falcons team, they're kind of a team that, like, 1 week they could be really good. The next week they could be absolute, and excuse my language, guys, for saying this, but they can be absolute shit. I mean, I've seen it back and forth. Going back to when they played against the Carolina Panthers, Michael Penix Jr. threw multiple interceptions in that game, just making reads that, I mean, honestly, like, as somebody that watches football that hasn't picked up a football in probably 10, 15 years, I could make those throws and throw those interceptions. And that's sad to say. I mean, as a fan, it's sad to say. But this offense of the Atlanta Falcons, they have a ton of talent. They have a ton of weapons. You can easily put up 30 points, or you can also get shut out. It just depends on the Michael Penix Jr. that comes out there and how quickly they can get involved in the game. That's the biggest things that I say in this matchup. But Sean, let's go over to the offensive side of the ball again for the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen last week, I mean, some of the mistakes that happened on offense, they're credited to Josh Allen. This is going to be a tough week for him, especially after the mistakes that happened out there and what happened overall last week. Now you come in, you're refocused, you have to get this offense back under attack and everything. The tough matchup that Josh Allen has is not, number one, not making the same mistakes that he did last week, but how can he stay in the pocket, play within himself, but also make this offense better? Is it that he has to utilize his legs early in the game, or is it that the Bills don't utilize his leg and he sits in the pocket and they, you know, he runs around for 6-7 seconds out there on the field? What do you think this offense needs to do to really get that drive from and the spark that they really need?
Well, like I said, I think it's just everything got too predictable, so they need to switch things up that way. I would work the middle of the field more. I know they're good at guarding tight ends, but we got to do more slants. We got to do more crossing routes. Get people going across. So when Josh is scanning the field, oh, that guy's running right across 10 yards downfield. I'm going to lead him with 5 yards past that. He's going to catch it and run for some yak. We got to, besides doing a lot of deep patterns and out routes down the field, stick between that 2 and 15-yard range and just pick that apart for a while, and then run the ball, pick that apart for a while. And big plays open up. They always do, and then we'll hit them when the time comes. It just seemed like, again, last week, as soon as we got cooking, penalty, drop us back 15 or 10 yards, then incomplete pass or bad throw or drop pass. Just the sequences of everything last week just was weird, and it just felt like we're just running through the motions. Like a 2nd and 10, we just had a penalty that backed us up. We were in field goal range. Now we're back out of it. Then the first play you do is you throw a back shoulder to Keon. He's not paying attention. 2nd and 10. Then you throw another or 3rd and 10. Then on 3rd and 10, you throw a deep ball to Kincaid to Coleman 50-50. Could have been interfered with, but those were the play designs, and you punt. So we went from being in field goal range, driving down the field after the Knox fumble, the second drive, driving downfield. Now you're punting again. So shooting yourself in the foot, bad play calling. We don't do a good job of, if it's near the end of a game, even in that Patriots game, we were in field goal range, and it was 2nd down and 2nd and 10 or whatever. Now you got 3 plays to get the rest of the yardage, because if it's 3rd down or if it's 4th and 1, you might just go for it. You have to design your plays where it's we don't need to get it all in one play. So after the first play where Shakir dropped it, and he could have got at least 5-10 yards on that play, the 2nd and 10, then the rest of the plays were all designed to go deep, and everyone was in the end zone. You don't need to go to the end zone. We need to get 10 yards so we can keep the drive going and waste time and score a touchdown, and so they don't have any more time left. But what we did was everything's designed to go downfield. Allen's standing in the pocket for 4 seconds, and he runs around for 5 more seconds, and he just chucks it past the end zone. Coleman can't get it. And then the next play does the same thing. He's running around all over the place trying to find somebody open. Then Shakir comes down finally to try to catch the ball, and then he does get interfered with, but they didn't call it, and he dropped it. And now you got to kick a field goal. So we need to do better job calling plays where we don't feel like we have to get everything in one go. So if we're down at all in this game, the Ravens game was perfect. We were down by a ton, and did we go deep every time? No, we stuck within the game itself and said, if we just keep getting a little bit of play here, 8 yards, 5 yards, 10 yards. Oh, there's a big play to Palmer, 25 yards downfield. We'll take it. And then you keep going like that. And then we ended up catching up with 17 points in 5 minutes and won the game. So I just think we need to understand, or Brady needs to understand, we can win the game playing like ourselves, but don't be too predictable, and then don't just think, oh, let me call these plays that Allen feels like he has to take it all now. Yeah, you want to throw a deep route, one of the 4 people running, sure, because maybe they'll be open, but they might take people with them. Have a guy running across, have other guy out, have Cook as a hot route to dump it off to if nobody's open, and keep it going. And when we play like that, we score a bunch, and we take care of the football. So I just feel like if you play like that, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Sean. And for me, I think that this is going to be one of the keys to victory that I'm going to have, and we're kind of leaning right into that segment that we're going to talk about. But I think one of the biggest things that the Buffalo Bills need to do is that up-tempo approach. I think that they really need to start opening up the game. They're very slow to open up games, and I want to see them come out of the gates and just like I think it was a few years ago. Like one of the first plays of the game, they threw it deep, and it was like an 85 or 90-yard touchdown in that situation. I want to see the Bills come out of the gates, and even if the pass isn't there for the big play to Keon Coleman or Joshua Palmer, where you're stretching the field deep. Now the defense has to think about, okay, oh crap, we have to cover 80 yards down the field because Josh Allen can throw that ball. But even if you don't take the shot deep down the field and you hit a 10-yard pass to Dalton Kincaid over the middle or whoever it is that they complete the pass to, you have to think about the whole entire aspects of what the Bills are going to do. Maybe they're going to take a shot deep down the field again later in the game. So for me, I want to see the Bills, like I said, come out of the gate strong. Let's start very quick and move the ball down the field and utilize all the players that we have out there on the field. We have a ton of playmakers in the passing game that we can use. Let's just move the ball down the field. We can easily drive down the field with the players that we have, but it just seems like we haven't clicked and we haven't found that right rhythm on offense between the play calling, between being balanced in the attack, but also just being on the same page as well. So we have a lot to deal with, and usually by week 8 we figure these things out and we'll be fine. But I want to see it happen this week because we have our bye week next week. We can really do this. We can play very good complementary football on all three sides of the ball because when the offense is clicking, the defense is going to start clicking again. I promise you that. So, Sean, let's get into the keys to victory. And I kind of led into that first one for me, but give me one of your other keys to victory for the Buffalo Bills in order to win this matchup.
Yeah, you got to eliminate. Kick my desk. You got to eliminate the penalties. Simple as that. It's been 2 weeks in a row with double digits. We went from being the least penalized team with like 3 or 4 a game to over 8, maybe even 9 or 10 now at this point with two games in a row with 10. It's unacceptable, and it takes you out of games.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying there, Sean. For me, it's going to be win on early downs. I think you have to keep the chains moving on and manageable on the offensive side of the ball, avoid 3rd and longs with Josh Allen. But when Josh is in those short yardage situations, take his legs and put him into the game. We haven't really utilized his legs over the last couple of weeks. He's become that pocket passer type situation. I want to see them utilize his legs a little bit more. And if it's there, let him go. Let Josh be Josh and let him make plays because sometimes he's a stumbling junkie type of player. It's kind of like I'm trying to think of the right word to say for him. He's kind of like a cow running down the field. He's quick. He's quicker than a cow. But he's like a chicken and a cow put together and trying to run down the field because he's not the most balanced in those situations, and he likes to take the hits and everything and be a bull, and that's great and everything. But when it gets going, the guys around him rally, and I want to see him really play a better game and utilize his legs, utilize what he has out there on the field in terms of his body as well, and make the plays and play, not only play hero ball, but play smart football too.
For sure.
What's your next key to victory, Sean?
It's got to be take care of the football. Turn the ball over 3 times, even 2 times, and expect to win many football games. So don't give them don't give another bad team, not a bad team, but don't give a team that's lesser than you more opportunities to beat you. And that's what you do when you turn it over, especially when you turn it over in your own territory and then when you're about to score in your opponent's territory.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying there, Sean. For me, this piggybacks off of what you're saying. Force turnovers, steal a possession or 2 in these situations, and hope that Bijan Robinson doesn't break one in the game, and hopefully not late in the game in those situations. But let's steal a possession. Let's go down the field, and let's put points on the damn board. I don't want to see 3 points on the board. I want to see them put 7 points on the board when they're going down the field. Make this game out of reach early in the game and take the crowd out of Atlanta. And I think John Robert here has a really good point, is utilizing James Cook and Ty Johnson more. I could easily see that, as well as saying that Josh needs to find James Cook in the passing game more. I love those 2 things that he's saying. But Sean, I have one more. If you have any more, let me know. But I'm going to give you the chance to go with another key to victory.
You want me to go first? Obviously, protect the quarterback and get to the quarterback. Like as we always say every week, it's a given. Just like it's a given that Josh is the best player and has to do the best on the team for us to win. Trenches, both sides obviously always have to do their best to will a team to victory.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I have two last things. Actually, I said one, but it's a kind of a two-parter on this one. Number one is going to be with what happened last week against the New England Patriots. I want to see them come out a little bit pissed off and upset with what they happened out there on the field. So I want to see that side of the Buffalo Bills show some tenacity out there on the field. But also the main one for me is containing Bijan Robinson. I want to see them stop him early in the game and limit the explosive plays that you can have from Bijan. But I also want to see the Buffalo Bills settle in and really force the offense of the Atlanta Falcons into kicking field goals. This special teams unit struggles often. They lost Younghoe Koo, no longer on the team, so that's going to be another aspect that they can really focus on, and you can see some mistakes on special teams from them, but make them have to go down the field and kick 3 points. Don't give them 7 points. Any more keys for you, Sean?
I think that covers the important ones.
I love it, man. So for me, this is probably one of the last segments that we're going to get into, Sean, is going to be the score predictions. This is a game of pride for the Buffalo Bills, and I think that they don't want to lose 2 games in a row under Sean McDermott, and they don't do that often. And Josh Allen doesn't let that narrative right itself. I think that the Buffalo Bills, for me, are going to go down the field. They're going to win this game easily, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a 31-13 win for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen throws 285 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. 2 of them are going to be passing. 1 of them is going to be rushing. Bijan's going to do his thing down the field. I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to have 130 yards given up against him in a score, but Buffalo's front 4 closes the game all day long, and you're going to see Joey Bosa sacks. You're going to see Greg Rousseau recover a fumble in the game. He's going to bring it into the opponent's territory, and it's going to make it an easy 5-1 record for the Buffalo Bills in this game. Sean, give me your score prediction, or who you think's most likely going to win. I imagine you're going to take the Buffalo Bills to win, but are you going to surprise people?
Yeah, well, I wanted to come in and say that they're not going to win because they play like crap. But I'm not going to say anything this week. Honestly, they haven't, based on last week, haven't showed me a reason to want to pick them or think that they're going to bounce back. Obviously, the odds are they're going to play well and bounce back. But all I'm going to say is I say this every year: great teams don't lose 2 in a row. We did it. Yeah. We lost 2 in a row last year, and we were a great team, but we didn't win the Super Bowl. So right. I would say that great teams don't lose 2 in a row, and that's all I'm going to say. So if it's the Bills, I know that this team could be. We're going to be 5-1 at the next show. Obviously, we're going to have a bye week, so I don't know what we're going to do. We might not do anything, but
we'll see. We may surprise people.
Yeah, but we should be 5-1. I'm not going to be. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if we lost, but don't lose 2 in a row, especially when you got the Patriots playing the Saints this week, and if they win and we lose, we're not in first place anymore. And then you got the Broncos playing the Jets. They're going to be 4-2. The Colts are probably going to win. They're going to be 5-1. The Jags are going to be 5-1. Or the Jags already played. But yeah, you know what I mean. It's the Jags still play this week, but still, they got a lot of people in the AFC that are doing well right now, and we want to continue having a chance at the 1 seed, losing the back-to-back games early in the season while other good teams are still winning. Put you in a bad spot. So hopefully they respond well. They should. I thought they were going to respond well after 10 penalties the week before against the Saints. They didn't. So now I hope when they say it was a reality check, I shouldn't take losing for it to be a reality check. You you should notice that like you're playing bad and still winning, and then you should still take it personal. Oh yeah, we won, but we could have lost because we played like crap. Well, not like crap, but not their best. But shouldn't take losing, because I don't like that in a way, because it's like they're okay with doing bad as long as they win. And
I mean, it kind of sounds like insanity to me. You know, the definition of insanity is what, Sean? Can you tell us?
doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
Exactly.
But
so
yeah.
when you're doing that, that's kind of what I was thinking about last week. It was insanity. I mean, you're self-inflicting wounds all the way around. That's what I saw.
Yeah, and I know what they mean, like, oh, it's a wake-up call, but like I said, that's an attitude throughout the whole building. If Josh is saying that at a podium, oh, it's a wake-up call, we've been winning without playing our best, and caught up to us. That's not an attitude I want to have. If you're playing bad, I want to be corrected the next week. So I don't want to win 3 games in a row with you not playing your best. So I really hope that they take it seriously that they lost with a game that they shouldn't have lost. They shouldn't be embarrassed. They lost at home. They lost at a whiteout. We won 15 games in a row at home. We haven't lost a turnover battle in 25 games, and all that's gone. So they need to take they need to take it personal. Again, I'm not gonna predict a winner or a score, but I'm just gonna say great teams don't lose 2 in a row. That's all.
That's a very good point, Sean. And what Trey Williams says here, I mean, he can see this going 2 ways. Either it's going to be the Bills force a game script for Atlanta and we steamroll them, or you could easily see that they start off messy on offense and Bijan bleeds out the clock and the Bills win the game, but it's going to be very close. He sees the Bills winning 30-24. I could see it either way too, but I think that, like you said, Sean, I think the good teams find a way to figure things out, even though we had our, ass-kicking moment last week in week 5, and like you mentioned, 3 years in a row that we have lost in week 5. I don't see the Buffalo Bills, especially the week before, by losing, and I think that they're going to figure this out, and I think that Sean McDermott was absolutely livid at what he saw out there on the field, and I think you're going to see a very different defense for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills will, in my opinion, like I said, we'll get the win in the victory column and remind the rest of the NFL that one day and one bad Sunday doesn't define their franchise. And that's going to be a wrap for us on the Red, White, and Ruthless. Sean, do you have any last-minute words before we end the show?
I don't think so.
All right, man. So we're not going to sugarcoat things. We have hype, we have the truth, and our Buffalo standard is still strong. So for Sean, my name is Brett McDurphy. I'm glad to be with you tonight. We appreciate you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment on this video, and also don't forget that we will be live every Friday night at 8:30 p.m. If there is a bye week, we will keep you posted on whether we're going to do a show. We will definitely be posting on both YouTube and on Facebook to let you know if we're doing a show next week. But let's go into week 6 with a victory and end it. Go back into the bye week, get some players back in Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt that could make the difference for the team. Also, we can start the practice window for Maxwell Hairston coming up too, and it could be a very different team for the Buffalo Bills. We'll see you next time. Stay loud, stay proud, and as always, go Bills.
Here, hold on, Brett. So, future, one Friday before the Chiefs game is Halloween, so we probably won't be live Friday because family stuff. So we're either going to go Thursday night, but I'll be in Buffalo Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So maybe we'll have to do a Saturday pregame with Jake and me because I'll be at Jake's house. But we'll figure it out. But I know he said every Friday, and it just came to my mind that Halloween's on a Friday. So that weekend we'll figure out something.
We'll figure that out, especially with Halloween and us having kids and everything. We'll figure it out. But most Fridays we're going to try and stay on that schedule, guys. But we will keep you posted if there is any changes to the schedule. We'll let you know beforehand. So for Sean, I'm Brett. We'll see you next time. Stay loud, stay proud, and as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.